Hope you all had a safe and happy Thanksgiving. I'm Bobby Broyles along with Tim McDonald here in studio for another episode of This Week in CAA Football, powered by GEICO. Tim, did you get enough to eat there?
I did. Every Thanksgiving, no turkey this year, just ham, but great cheesy potatoes, just phenomenal meals.
Did you get your
phenomenal
pumpkin pie?
spread? Yeah, a little bit.
There you go.
Not a lot.
The first round of the FCS playoffs is in the books. Richmond looked impressive in its win over Morgan State, and now the Spiders move on to take on Coastal Carolina, while the JMU Duke season unfortunately came to a close after losing at home to Liberty.
CAA football went 1-1 over the weekend. Richmond, another strong start in the first quarter. That's been this team's MO all season long. 22-0 after one quarter versus Morgan State, and they just continued to roll. Michael Strauss threw 4 touchdown passes. Seth Fisher, the running back, had 3 total touchdowns. Again, we talked about how important this receiving core would need to be for Richmond to step up. Reggie Diggs had a phenomenal game, 2 touchdowns receiving. Brian Brown also played well. This team right now is hot, Bob, and they know how to score, and they know how to score when they need to. This 46 points were the most scored ever for Richmond in a playoff game. Keep on rolling, and on the other side of the bracket, you look at JMU, a team, a very tough loss at home. They had won 7 straight games, their first loss since the end of September, really. And coming into that game, if you had told me that Liberty would be able to hold that lead to 139 passing yards, I would have laughed.
Yeah.
And the fact that JMU in the second half just looked like a completely different team. Yes, it's disappointing, and it's disappointing, but hats off to Liberty, a big win. Still, JMU, hats off to Everett Withers as well. What a season they had in his first campaign as a head coach. And this team returns a lot of talent, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They lose a couple of key positions on defense, but they're going to be back next year, and they're probably going to be back with a little bit of vengeance.
Absolutely, and congrats to the Dukes once again on a great season. As for the Spiders, they move on and now take on the Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina in Myrtle Beach on Saturday. UR and CCU will square off at 1 o'clock with the winner heading to the quarterfinals against either North Dakota State or South Dakota State.
We've talked about this Coastal team a few times this year.
Yes, we have.
The Chanticleers, I should point out. Common opponents this year between the two teams, Elon and Liberty. Richmond, of course, won both of those games, where Coastal Carolina, undefeated up to the whole season until that game versus Liberty at the regular season, lose that contest. If Coastal Carolina had won that game, they probably would have been the 3 seed or the 4 seed, something along the lines of that. So this team right now has been waiting. They left a sour taste in their mouth. They lost that last game, and on the other hand, Richmond, what another opportunity. You get to go down south, not a huge, long trip, a nice little trip. The weather should be cooperative with them. And this is a game where QB play is going to be awesome in this. Alex Ross, the Big South Offensive Player of the Year, 19 touchdowns, over 600 yards rushing. He's a dual threat guy for Coastal Carolina. D'Angelo Henderson, another guy there running back for Coastal. He's just had a phenomenal year, 18 touchdowns. This is going to be an offensive explosion, and right now I think this team, you'd like to think a little bit of a benefit towards Richmond just because of the way, especially the last 2 weeks, how hot they've been. Yep. Talk about Reggie Diggs. He's a guy who right now is basically filling in that role of Stephen Barnett on offense. Over 1,000 yards receiving. He has 7 touchdowns, 77 receptions, so he's going to be the go-to guy. If Coastal can shut him down, then Richmond could be in trouble. On the other hand, Richmond's defense has been underrated a lot of times this year. They rank 23rd in the FCS in rush yards per game, only allowing 129 yards. I think that's going to be key. If Richmond can shut down Coastal's rush offense, that's going to be huge for this team moving forward. Not to look ahead, but the winner potentially, is going to either play at North Dakota State or versus South Dakota State. Whatever happens, Coastal's 3-4 all-time versus CAA football teams. Again, though, 3 of those wins, all of them have come at home for Coastal.
Yep. Also at 1, the top overall seed in the playoffs, New Hampshire welcomes Fordham out of the Patriot League to the dungeon. UNH earned a first-round bye following the end of the regular season, Tim, and this is very familiar territory for the Wildcats.
It is familiar in the sense that UNH, last year they had to play in the first weekend, and years before that they've also dealt with a bye, so they know how to handle this, and they lead the FCS with 11 consecutive FCS playoff appearances, so this is nothing new to them. Interesting, Coach Talley and Coach McDonald during the conference call this week, they kind of let their players enjoy the regular season and let them go home for the holiday. They didn't know who they would be playing this weekend, so it wasn't a sense of, okay, let's practice all week and get ready. Let them rest up. This is a very interesting dilemma for UNH because they play so well at home. 31 of 33 games they've won in the dungeon. But Fordham comes in, I've talked about this Fordham team, and it's just a nightmare to have to prepare for this Fordham team. Offensively, they can hit you from all types of angles. This is a team, Chase Edmonds, who's probably going to win the Freshman of the Year award at the FCS level. He has 22 rushing touchdowns, 1,600 yards rushing. He's a true freshman. That's just absurd. They have 3 receivers right now who have over 1,000 yards, and a quarterback who's the Offensive Player of the Year in the Patriot League, in Michael Niebrick. This New Hampshire defense has played well down the stretch. They give up 20.6 points per game, which is actually 20th in the FCS. So this New Hampshire defense, I think, is going to be the key for them to win this game. Fordham's going to throw the ball all over the place. They rank in the top 5 in the FCS for total offensive numbers, average over 500 yards per game and over 40 points per game. UNH is going to have its hands full. There's no question about that. Again, playing in the dungeon and the familiarity, knowing that if you can continue to win in the playoffs, the road to Frisco, Texas has to come through Durham. A great thing for this program, but still, New Hampshire, I think the key is going to be they need to get a run game going. We saw versus Maine, they turned the ball over 6 times, and the run game wasn't that effective. But New Hampshire, Nico Storetti, and Jimmy Owens, the 2 running backs for New Hampshire. Owens has 7 touchdowns. Storetti has 8 touchdowns on the ground. People don't realize Villanova and New Hampshire are tied for rushing touchdowns this year with 29 total scores. Once New Hampshire gets condensed, they can find the ball in the end zone easy ways. That's going to be huge this game. I'm really excited for this one. It could be a shootout. Anything can happen in the playoffs. In the dungeon on Saturday, this is going to be a great game.
Then at 4:30, things wrap up with 6th-seeded Villanova hosting Liberty. We saw the Flames in person last Saturday, and they've won a couple of tough road games in back-to-back weeks, but now they'll try to contain a healthy and well-rested John Robertson and company.
You know, I keep comparing this Villanova team to the team that they had in 2012, 2 years ago, because there's so many players from that team who are back this year and want to get a little bit of a bad taste out of their mouth from 2 years ago. Villanova played Stony Brook on the road 2 years ago in a playoff game. They were shut out in the first half and just didn't play. Guys like Austin Medley, Kevin Monangai, and John Robertson, you know, I think they're sitting here well-rested and knowing, okay, we let our chance slip that year. We're going to take care of business this year. We saw Liberty, a very good team. Josh Woodrum, the quarterback, missed a couple of games, but he came back versus JMU. Again, he didn't light up the scoreboard, but he got it done. Yep. And Liberty's rushing attack, DJ Abner, the running back, that drive, they had a drive in the 4th quarter that lasted 11 minutes, Bob. It was a 17-play drive. That's, I think, the key. They obviously showed how to beat JMU. I think they're going to try to do the same thing this week, try to have long, sustaining drives. Again, we know about John Robertson. We know the type of numbers that he put up, and we know about the offensive weapons like the receivers, Kevin Goulias for Villanova, all these players, Gary Underwood. You know, we know about this team, but I think the key is going to be Kevin Monangai. He's a guy right now. The running back, he's a senior, 870 yards, 11 touchdowns rushing. Villanova is a very balanced team, 240 rush yards per game, 228 pass yards per game. That's going to be key. On the other hand, Liberty, 2 huge road wins in back-to-back weeks. They're not scared to go on the road right now. I think this is another great matchup, but Villanova, ultimately, I think the balance is going to be key and a little bit too much for Liberty.
Speaking of John Robertson, he is a top 3 finalist for the Walter Payton Award, and also like to send congratulations out to Jamie Vadley. Talked a little bit about him today, and of course R.J. Harris also finishing in the top 10 in the vote getting for the Walter Payton Award. All of Saturday's games will be broadcast live on ESPN3 and the Watch ESPN app. Head to cafootball.com for all the latest information you need from the postseason, including links to watch Saturday's contests.
You can tweet us, tag us, like us, or just interact with CA Football via Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram by searching CA Football and using our official hashtag CAFB.
CA Football's podcast returns back to its normal day this Thursday as you... I'm pointing at me. As you, me, Alex Souza, and Eric Weberg break down the league's second-round matchups. Make sure to catch it tomorrow on CAA Football's Everyday is Saturday blog, cafootball.wordpress.com. 3 CA football teams are still alive and hopefully will remain that way next Wednesday when we break down the quarterfinals.
Let's hope so, BB. You know, it's the playoffs, and I keep on saying it, but anything can happen. Expect the unexpected. Huge opportunity for 3 league teams this week. Hey, at least we don't have to have a CA football matchup. I'm excited to see you next week. We'll see what happens.
Exactly. Well, enjoy the game Saturday, everyone. We'll see you next week.